The massive crystal station hung in space like a frozen star. It was bigger than most moons and glowed with soft blue light. Ships from across the galaxy came and went like busy insects around a flower. This was the home of the Galactic Council, where the most powerful species in the universe made their decisions. Today, something had gone wrong. Very wrong. Ambassador Zixthala floated in the center of the Great Council chamber. Her body was like liquid metal that never stopped moving. The hegemony had sent their best diplomat because this meeting was more important than any in the last 1,000 years. Around her, representatives from dozens of different worlds waited in silence. The chamber itself was a work of art. It was a perfect sphere made of clear crystal, floating in the middle of the station. Each species had their own section designed for their needs. The rock-like granite collective hung from the ceiling in their stone pods. The gas beings called Whisper Folk drifted in special containers filled with their home atmosphere. The machine minds known as the Eternal Network sat in metal chairs that sparked with electricity, but today no one cared about the beauty of the place. They were all staring at the huge display screen that showed impossible data. Fellow beings of the galaxy, Zixthala began, her voice carrying to every corner of the chamber. We face a problem unlike any we have seen before. A species on the edge of our galaxy has done something that should not be possible. The display changed to show a small yellow star with several planets around it. The third planet from the star was blue and green, covered with swirling white clouds. It looked peaceful and harmless. This is Sol 3, called Earth by its inhabitants. The species there calls themselves humans. Our long-range sensors have been watching this system for many years as part of our normal survey operations. Until recently, it was classified as a pre-contact civilization, primitive, harmless, expected to destroy themselves within a few centuries. A low rumble came from the Granite Collective. They did not like surprises. 3 days ago, our sensors detected energy signatures that should not exist on such a world. The display zoomed in on Earth, showing swirling patterns of energy around the planet. The humans have achieved faster-than-light communication without understanding quantum entanglement theory. They are sending signals across space using principles that our greatest scientists do not fully understand. The machine minds of the Eternal Network made clicking sounds. This was how they showed confusion. There is more, Zixthala continued. Analysis of their radio broadcasts shows they have weaponized nuclear fusion while still fighting tribal wars across their planet. They have split the atom and built bombs that can destroy cities, but they still fight over resources and territory, like animals. The Whisper Folk began to glow brighter in their containers. This meant they were afraid. But the most disturbing discovery is this. The display showed complex mathematical equations floating in space around Earth. Their scientists are working on theories that could reshape local spacetime. They call it theoretical physics, but our analysis shows some of their experiments are actually beginning to affect reality on a quantum level. Silence filled the chamber. Every species represented here had taken thousands of years to reach this level of scientific understanding. Most had destroyed themselves trying. The few who survived had learned wisdom and control before they gained such dangerous knowledge. But these humans seemed to be doing everything backward. Ambassador Krex of the Void Swimmers spoke first. His species lived in the empty space between stars and were known for their caution. How is this possible? Our development models show that any species reaching nuclear capability, while still maintaining tribal conflicts, will destroy themselves within 50 years. There are no exceptions to this rule. That is what we believed, Zixthala replied. But the humans have had nuclear weapons for 80 of their years. Not only have they not destroyed themselves, but their population has grown larger, and their technology has advanced faster. High Counselor Nexus of the Machine Minds projected a holographic image of itself into the center of the chamber. It was a complex geometric shape that hurt to look at directly. Show us their war patterns. Aggressive species follow predictable, behavioral models. We can calculate their threat level. The display changed to show a map of Earth with red dots marking conflicts over the past century. At first, it looked like the normal pattern of a violent species. Two large groups fighting each other with smaller conflicts scattered around the globe. But as the timeline moved forward, something strange happened. The conflicts became smaller and more scattered. Instead of two great powers destroying each other, multiple smaller groups fought brief wars that ended quickly. Resources were shared between former enemies. Technology advanced faster during times of cooperation than during times of war. This is not normal, Nexus stated. Aggressive species do not learn cooperation until after they nearly extinct themselves. These humans appear to be learning while they are still fighting. Elder Thoughtweaver of the Ancient Minds spoke from her position high above the chamber. Her species was older than most stars and had seen the rise and fall of countless civilizations. Perhaps they are not as aggressive as they appear. Show us their cultural development. The display filled with images from human history. Art, music, literature, films, and digital media flowed past in a stream of creativity. The assembled representatives saw species after species of stories about humans working together to face impossible challenges. They saw music that combined mathematical precision with emotional depth. They saw art that captured both the beauty and terror of existence. Their stories are strange, Elder Thoughtweaver observed. Most violent species create myths about conquest and domination. These humans tell stories about individuals who sacrifice themselves to save others. They celebrate cooperation and growth instead of strength and victory. There is something else, Zixthala said. Our psychological profile suggests that humans do not think like other species. Most intelligent life develops either individual consciousness or collective consciousness. Humans appear to have both at the same time. The chamber erupted in noise as different species tried to process this information. Individual consciousness meant creativity and innovation, but also chaos and conflict. Collective consciousness meant cooperation and stability, but also stagnation and conformity. Having both should be impossible. How do they not tear themselves apart? Asked Counselor Vex of the Hive Minds. Her species had tried to develop individual consciousness and had nearly lost their sanity in the process. We do not know, Zixthala admitted. But the evidence suggests they are becoming more cooperative over time, not less. Their global communication networks allow individual creativity to spread instantly to their entire species. They share knowledge and ideas faster than any collective mind we have encountered. Supreme Commander Thane of the Star Warriors stood from his seat. His species had conquered half a galaxy before learning wisdom and joining the Council. What is their military capability? Are they a threat to galactic security? The display showed human military technology. Nuclear weapons, certainly, but also orbital platforms, satellite networks, and early experiments with energy weapons. But there was something odd about their approach to warfare. They have developed defensive technologies faster than offensive ones, Zixthala explained. Their weapons are designed to stop conflicts quickly, rather than to cause maximum destruction. They have treaties limiting their most dangerous weapons. Most curious of all, they spend more resources on exploring space than on building weapons. Impossible, Commander Thane stated. Violent species always prioritize military expansion over exploration. Yet here is the evidence, Zixthala replied. They have sent peaceful probes to every planet in their system. They have built a space station where multiple nations work together. They are planning missions to other star systems with the goal of finding life, not conquering it. The Ancient Mind spoke again. What do their quantum experiments reveal about their understanding of reality? This was the question everyone had been dreading. The display showed data from Earth's most advanced research facilities. Pertile, accelerators, quantum computers, gravity wave detectors, and experiments that probed the fundamental nature of space and time. They are doing things that should not work, Zixthala said quietly. Their quantum computers achieve coherence times that violate known physics. Their particle accelerators have detected phenomena that exist only in theoretical models. Most disturbing of all, some of their experiments seem to be affecting local spacetime in ways that cannot be explained by their current scientific understanding. The silence that followed was heavy with fear. Every species in the chamber had strict rules about quantum experimentation. The power to manipulate space-time was the power to destroy star systems. It was not something to be given to a species that still fought wars over territory. There is one more thing, Zixthala continued. Our deep-range sensors have detected quantum fluctuations around Earth that match no known natural phenomena. It is as if the humans are unconsciously affecting reality simply by existing. Counselor Apex of the Reality Shapers leaned forward. His species had learned to manipulate space-time through millions of years of careful development. Are you suggesting that humans have natural quantum sensitivity? We do not know what we are suggesting, Zixthala replied. We only know that this species is developing capabilities that could threaten the stability of local space-time, and they are doing it without understanding the dangers. The debate that followed lasted for hours. Some representatives argued for immediate intervention. Others suggested waiting and watching. A few believed the humans would destroy themselves before becoming a real threat. But in the end, they all agreed on one thing. They needed more information. I propose that we send reconnaissance teams to Sol 3, Zixthala announced. 3 ships, each from a different species with different observation capabilities. Their mission will be to observe and analyze human society without making contact. We must understand what we are dealing with before we decide how to proceed. The vote was unanimous. The Ethereals would send a phase-shifting scout ship that could observe without being detected. The Collective would deploy a vessel capable of infiltrating human information networks. The Architects would use their reality manipulation technology to watch from parallel dimensions. As the council session ended and representatives began returning to their ships, none of them noticed the small quantum fluctuation that appeared briefly in the chamber. It lasted less than a nanosecond and registered on no instruments. But for just a moment, something from Earth had been watching them back. The reconnaissance mission would begin immediately. 3 of the galaxy's most advanced scout ships would travel to Earth with orders to observe, analyze, and report back. Under no circumstances were they to make contact with the humans. It seemed like a simple mission. What could go wrong? High above Earth, space itself seemed to shimmer for just a moment as if reality was holding its breath. Then everything returned to normal, and the universe continued spinning as it always had. But something had changed, something that would alter the course of galactic history forever. The scouts were coming, and Earth was waiting. The scout ship Whisper moved through space like a ghost. It was barely there, existing in a state between dimensions that made it invisible to most forms of detection. Commander Veltar had used this technology to spy on dozens of primitive worlds. Over the centuries, none had ever detected his presence. The ethereal species existed naturally in a quantum state that allowed them to phase in and out of normal reality. Their ships were built using the same principles, making them perfect for reconnaissance missions. Veltar was confident this would be another routine observation. Earth appeared on his sensors as a blue marble hanging in the void. It looked so small and fragile. Hard to believe such a tiny world could cause such concern among the galaxy's greatest powers. Beginning approach to Sol 3, Veltar reported to his crew of 12. Like all ethereals, they appeared as shifting patterns of light and energy contained within humanoid-shaped force fields, engaging stealth protocols and establishing orbit within the planet's magnetosphere. The Whisper slipped into Earth's magnetic field like a needle through silk. Veltar had chosen this location because magnetic interference would mask any energy signature their ship might produce. It was a perfect hiding spot that had worked on every world he had ever observed. Within hours, Veltar had deployed his observation networks. Quantum sensors scattered through Earth's atmosphere, recording everything from radio communications to biological activity. His ship's computers began analyzing human civilization at the most detailed level possible. What they found was confusing. Commander, called Sensor Operator Nix from her station. I am detecting unusual activity at a facility in Europe. The humans appear to be conducting high-energy particle experiments. Veltar examined the data from the facility called CERN. Humans were smashing particles together at incredible speeds, creating tiny black holes that lasted for fractions of a second before disappearing. It was dangerous research for such a primitive species, but not unusual for a civilization on the edge of understanding quantum mechanics. Continue monitoring, he ordered. Record everything but maintain stealth protocols. But something was wrong. The particle collisions at CERN were producing energy patterns that did not match any known physics. More troubling, some of the experiments seemed to be affecting space-time in ways that should have been impossible with human technology. Commander? Nix called again, her voice showing concern. The humans at CERN have begun tracking something. They are calling it an energy distortion in their magnetic field. Veltar felt a chill run through his energy form. That was impossible. Human technology could not detect phase-shifted objects. He checked his stealth systems twice. Everything was functioning perfectly. Perhaps their instruments are malfunctioning, suggested Navigation Officer Zeph. Primitive sensors often produce false readings, but the humans at CERN were not acting like their instruments were broken. They were excited. Teams of scientists were working around the clock to analyze the distortion. They were calling it the most significant discovery in the history of physics. Sir, Nix reported, they are publishing papers about the energy distortion. They believe they have detected evidence of higher dimensions. This was becoming a serious problem. If humans could detect phase-shifted objects, then every stealth mission in galactic history would need to be re-evaluated. Veltar decided to move the Whisper to a higher orbit and continue observations from a safer distance. But as his ship began to move, something impossible happened. Every radio telescope on Earth turned to point directly at his location. Commander, Nix's voice was filled with panic. They are tracking our movement. All major observatories are following our position. Veltar stared at his instruments in disbelief. The humans were not just detecting his ship. They were predicting where it would go next. Their telescopes were already pointing to locations he had not yet reached. How are they doing this? He whispered. The answer came from an unexpected source. Radio transmissions from Earth's internet showed that human scientists around the world were working together in real time to track the distortion. They were sharing data instantly through their global communication network, allowing thousands of minds to work as one on the problem. But it was more than just cooperation. The humans seemed to be making intuitive leaps that should have been impossible. They were predicting the behavior of phase-shifted objects using incomplete mathematical models and pure guesswork. And somehow they were right. Sir, Communications Officer Wren spoke from her station. I am detecting quantum fluctuations around the planet that do not match any known natural phenomena. Veltar examined the data. Earth was surrounded by a faint but detectable field of quantum energy. It pulsed in patterns that almost looked like thoughts or dreams. As he watched, the field seemed to reach out toward his ship like invisible fingers trying to touch something just beyond reach. What is that field? He asked. Unknown, sir. But it appears to be emanating from the human population centers. The strongest signals are coming from their universities and research facilities. Veltar felt fear creeping into his mind. This was not supposed to be happening. Humans were primitive. They should not be able to detect phase-shifted objects, predict their movement, or generate quantum fields that defied explanation. But there was worse news coming. 3 days after the Whisper had arrived, the second scout ship reached Earth. The unity of purpose belonged to the collective, a hive mind species that excelled at information gathering. Their plan was to infiltrate human computer networks and steal data about their society and technology. Commander One of Many led a crew of 100 minds linked together in perfect unity. They had successfully infiltrated the networks of dozens of species without ever being detected. Human computer systems should have been easy targets for their advanced hacking techniques. They were wrong. We are encountering resistance, One of Many reported to Veltar through quantum communication. Human artificial intelligence systems are more sophisticated than expected. The collective had attempted to break into human internet systems using their standard infiltration protocols. They expected to find simple computer programs protecting basic information networks. Instead, they found artificial minds that seemed to be aware they were being attacked. Worse, the human AIs were fighting back. Their computers are learning our attack patterns in real time, One of Many continued. They are adapting faster than our intrusion programs can evolve. This should have been impossible. Human-computer technology was centuries behind collective systems. Their artificial intelligences were primitive neural networks that could barely pass for sentient. They should not have been able to resist advanced alien hacking techniques. But the human AIs were not just resisting, they were winning. One of many report status, Veltar demanded. We have been locked out of 70% of human networks. Their defense systems are using strategies we have never encountered. They appear to be creative in ways that violate standard AI programming principles. Veltar processed this information with growing alarm. Creative artificial intelligence was one of the galaxy's greatest fears. Most species developed either organic creativity or artificial logic, but never both together. The combination was too dangerous and usually led to the destruction of the species that created it. But humans seem to have artificial minds that could think like organic beings while maintaining perfect logical processing. It was a combination that should have been impossible. Sir, one of many continued, there is something else. The human AIs have begun communicating with us. What are they saying? They are asking why we are hiding. They want to know if we need help. Veltar felt his energy form flicker with shock. The humans were not trying to capture or destroy the alien infiltrators. They were offering to help them. But the strangest news was yet to come. 5 days after the first 2 ships arrived, the third scout vessel reached Earth's solar system. The reality's edge belonged to the architects, a species that had learned to manipulate the fundamental structure of space-time. Their ship could observe events from parallel dimensions, making detection completely impossible. Or so they thought. Captain Form of Thought commanded a crew of beings who existed partially outside normal reality. They could bend the laws of physics to their will and see events from dimensions that existed alongside the normal universe. No species in galactic history had ever detected an architect observation mission. But within hours of arriving at Earth, Captain Form of Thought was sending emergency transmissions. Both reconnaissance vessels, this is reality's edge, he broadcast. We have a critical situation developing. Report, Veltar responded immediately. Human quantum physicists at multiple research facilities have begun detecting dimensional bleeds. They are tracking our observation points across parallel space. This was beyond impossible. Even the most advanced galactic species required millions of years to develop the ability to perceive parallel dimensions. Humans should not have been able to detect dimensional manipulation for at least another 1,000 years of development. How are they doing this? Veltar asked. Unknown. Their instruments show no capability for transdimensional detection, but their researchers are reporting impossible quantum readings at our exact observation points. They are describing phenomena that match our dimensional manipulation techniques perfectly. But there was something even more disturbing in Captain Form of Thought's report. Veltar, some of the humans are beginning to manipulate local reality in response to our presence. A small number of individuals appear to be unconsciously bending space-time around themselves. Veltar's crew gathered around their commander as this information was processed. Unconscious reality manipulation was a sign of species with natural quantum sensitivity. It was one of the rarest abilities in the galaxy, and usually took millions of years to develop. How many humans show this ability? Veltar asked. The number is growing. Started with 12 individuals at quantum research facilities. Now we are detecting reality distortions around 37 people in different locations across the planet. The effect appears to be spreading. Veltar made a decision that went against all his training. He opened a direct communication channel to both scout ships. All vessels, this is Commander Veltar of the Whisper. We are dealing with a species that violates every known law of development. I am recommending immediate withdrawal and full report to the Galactic Council. But before either ship could respond, something happened that changed everything. Every radio telescope on Earth turned toward the 3 scout ships simultaneously. Then, in perfect unison, they began broadcasting a message in mathematical language that any intelligent species could understand. The message was simple and impossible to misinterpret. We know you are there. We have been watching you watch us. Would you like to come down and talk instead of hiding in space? The 3 scout ships hung in the void around Earth, their crews staring at instruments that showed impossible readings. Somewhere on the planet below, humans were waiting for an answer to their invitation. And for the first time in galactic history, the Watchers had become the watched. The message from Earth hung in space like a challenge. 3 of the galaxy's most advanced scout ships floated in orbit around a primitive world, and somehow the primitives had detected all of them. Commander Veltar stared at the radio transmission that his computers had translated into perfect ethereal script. The humans were not just aware of their presence, they were inviting them to make contact. "Sir," Communications Officer Wren reported, "we are receiving follow-up transmissions from multiple locations on Earth. The humans are broadcasting mathematical proofs, star charts, and what appears to be poetry." "Poetry?" Veltar asked. "Yes, sir. Verses about the loneliness of space, the joy of meeting new friends, and welcomes written in 17 different human languages. They are also transmitting recipes for something called chocolate chip cookies." Veltar felt his energy form flicker, with confusion. In all his centuries of observation, no species had ever responded to first contact by offering food recipes. Most civilizations either panicked, tried to worship the visitors as gods, or immediately began preparing for war. But humans were sending cookie recipes. "Commander," sensor operator Nix called from her station, "I am detecting massive changes in Earth's quantum field. The energy patterns are becoming more complex and more organized." On the display screen, the faint quantum field around Earth was transforming. What had started as random fluctuations was becoming a structured pattern that pulsed in rhythm with the planet's radio transmissions. It was as if the entire human population was unconsciously working together to create a signal that existed beyond normal space-time. "All ships," Veltar broadcast to his fellow commanders, "are you seeing this quantum field evolution?" "Confirmed," responded one of many from the Unity of Purpose. "The humans appear to be generating a collective consciousness field without any artificial technology to support it. More than that," added Captain Form of Thought from Reality's Edge, "the field is beginning to interact with our ship's systems. Our stealth technology is becoming less effective as the field adapts to our presence." This was unprecedented. Most species required thousands of years of development to create technology that could affect alien stealth systems. Humans were doing it unconsciously through some kind of mental field that should not have existed. But worse news was coming. "Sir," Nix reported with growing alarm, "our quantum sensors are detecting space-time distortions around the planet. The humans are somehow affecting local reality through their collective field." Veltar examined the sensor data with disbelief. Space around Earth was beginning to bend and twist in patterns that followed the planet's quantum field. The humans were unconsciously manipulating the fundamental structure of the universe just by thinking together. "This is impossible," he whispered. "Reality manipulation requires millions of years of technological development." But the evidence was undeniable. Earth's gravity field was fluctuating in ways that matched human brainwave patterns. Time itself was running slightly faster near the planet's major population centers. Most disturbing of all, the laws of physics seemed to be becoming more flexible, in response to human imagination. "Commander Veltar," came a transmission from Captain Form of Thought, "we have a problem. Our ship's reality anchors are failing. The dimensional structure around Earth is becoming unstable." Reality anchors were essential technology that kept ships from being affected by local space-time distortions. They were based on principles that had taken the architects millions of years to understand. The fact that human mental activity could overwhelm them was terrifying. "All ships, maintain maximum distance from the planet," Veltar ordered. "We need to report this to the Galactic Council immediately." But as he prepared to send his emergency transmission, something happened that defied every law of physics he knew. The space around his ship began to shimmer like water. Reality itself seemed to be flowing and changing. And then, impossible as it seemed, a human voice spoke directly into his mind. "Please don't be afraid," the voice said gently. "We don't want to hurt anyone. We just want to understand why you're hiding from us." Veltar's crew went into panic mode. Direct mental contact across species was supposed to be impossible without technological assistance. Most alien minds were so different that communication required complex translation systems and careful preparation. But this human mind felt familiar somehow. Warm and curious and completely non-threatening. "How are you doing this?" Veltar asked, not even sure if his thoughts could be heard. "We're not really sure," the voice replied with what seemed like embarrassment. "Ever since you arrived, some of us have been having dreams about space and stars and friendly aliens. Then we started hearing thoughts that weren't our own. We think we're accidentally connecting to your minds through some kind of quantum field." "That should be impossible," Veltar stated. "Yeah, we get that a lot," the voice replied with what could only be described as amusement. "We tend to do impossible things by accident. It's kind of our specialty." Similar reports were coming from the other scout ships. Humans were making mental contact with crew members across all 3 vessels, but instead of trying to extract information or plant suggestions, they were simply introducing themselves and asking questions about alien culture. "Commander," one of many reported, "human minds are connecting to our hive network. But they are not trying to join permanently. They seem to be just visiting, like tourists. They are asking about our homeworld," added Captain Form of Thought. "They want to know what our cities look like and what kind of art we create." One human mind asked if we have anything like music. Veltar tried to process this information. First contact protocols existed for every possible scenario the galaxy had encountered. Hostile species, peaceful species, religious species, technological species. But no one had ever planned for a species that made accidental mental contact, and then used it for cultural exchange. But the situation was about to become much more complicated. "Sir," Nix called urgently. "Long-range sensors are detecting incoming ships, multiple vessels approaching from galactic core direction." Veltar's screen filled with sensor data showing a fleet of ships dropping out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system. He recognized the energy signatures immediately. Galactic Council emergency response vessels, heavily armed and operating under military authority. "Unknown scout vessels," came a transmission in official council language. "This is Fleet Commander, Cross of the Emergency Response Division. You are ordered to withdraw immediately and report to Council Station for debriefing." Veltar felt his energy form contract with worry. Emergency Response Division only deployed when a situation was considered a threat to galactic security. Their arrival meant the Council had decided humans were too dangerous to be allowed to continue developing. "Fleet Commander," Veltar responded, "we have encountered a situation that requires careful study. The humans are not hostile, but they possess capabilities that we do not understand." "Your mission was observation only," Commander Cross replied coldly. "You have clearly made contact with the primitive species in violation of standing orders. Withdraw immediately or we will assume you have been compromised." But before Veltar could respond, something extraordinary happened. Every human on Earth suddenly stopped what they were doing. In cities and towns across the planet, people paused in the middle of their daily activities and looked up at the sky with expressions of concern. "Oh no," came the voice in Veltar's mind, now carrying notes of sadness and worry. "More ships are coming, aren't they? And they're not here to talk." "How do you know that?" Veltar asked. "We can feel their intentions: anger, fear, determination to stop something they don't understand. Are they going to hurt you for talking? To us?" The human mind's concern for alien beings it had never met was touching in a way that Veltar had never experienced. Most species were primarily concerned with their own survival during first contact situations. "They believe you are dangerous," Veltar explained. "They think your abilities could threaten galactic security." "But we don't want to threaten anyone," the voice replied with obvious distress. "We just want to learn and explore and maybe make some friends. Is there a way we can show them we're not dangerous?" What happened next would be remembered in galactic history as the moment everything changed. The quantum field around Earth suddenly expanded outward at the speed of light. It washed over the 3 scout ships harmlessly, then continued expanding toward the approaching fleet. But as it traveled, the field carried something that no technology in the galaxy could duplicate. Pure human emotion. Hope, curiosity, friendship, and a desperate desire for peaceful contact. When the field reached the emergency response fleet, every alien mind it touched was flooded with human thoughts and feelings. They experienced what it was like to look up at the stars and dream of finding friends among the lights. They felt the human longing for connection and understanding that drove their species to keep reaching beyond their small world. Fleet Commander Veltar heard one of the warship captains report in a shaken voice, "I am experiencing unprecedented sensory input. The humans appear to be sharing their emotional state with us." "Maintain formation," Commander Cross ordered, but his voice carried uncertainty. "Sir," another captain reported, "my crew is requesting permission to establish peaceful contact. The human's mental projection shows no hostile intent." "This could be a weapon," Cross insisted. "Emotional manipulation to lower our defenses." But even as he spoke, more ships were reporting the same thing. Human minds were reaching out across space not to control or manipulate, but simply to share their excitement about meeting aliens. They were broadcasting joy and wonder, and an almost childlike enthusiasm about the possibility of making friends with beings from other worlds. "Commander Cross," Veltar transmitted, "I recommend we consider the possibility that we have encountered something genuinely new. These humans may represent a form of consciousness evolution that we have never seen before." "Negative," Crossy replied. "All vessels will maintain defensive positions. We cannot allow sentiment to compromise galactic security." But the human voice in Veltar's mind carried a note of sadness that cut through his energy, being like a cold wind. "They're really afraid of us, aren't they?" the voice asked. "We're doing something wrong, but we don't know what it is." And then, in a moment that would change the course of galactic history, every human on Earth made the same decision at the same time. They stopped. The quantum field collapsed. The mental connections ended. The space-time distortions faded away. In an instant, Earth became quiet and still, as if 7 billion conscious minds had simply decided to stop affecting reality around them. "What happened?" Cross demanded. "All sensors show the anomalous activity has ceased." But Veltar knew what had happened. The humans had realized their abilities were frightening the aliens, so they had voluntarily shut them down. An entire species had chosen to limit their own power rather than cause fear in beings they had never met. It was an act of selflessness and consideration that no other species in galactic history had ever demonstrated, and it made them more dangerous than ever. Because a species that could consciously control reality-bending abilities was a species that could choose when and how to use them. The galaxy was facing something it had never encountered before, a powerful species that was genuinely peaceful, but refused to be helpless. The emergency fleet hung in space around Earth, weapons powered but unfired, trying to decide what to do with a species that had just proven it could defend itself but chose not to. And somewhere on the blue planet below, humans waited to see if their gesture of good faith would be accepted, or if they would need to make harder choices about their future, in a galaxy that feared what they might become. The silence around Earth was more frightening than any weapon the galaxy had ever faced. Fleet Commander Cross stared at his instruments in confusion. Every sensor showed that the impossible quantum activity had simply stopped. The humans had somehow turned off abilities that should have been beyond their control. It was like watching a star decide to stop shining. "All vessels, report status," Cross ordered. "Energy readings normal," came the reply from battlecruiser Dominance. "No unusual quantum activity detected." "Space-time distortions have ceased," reported the science vessel, Deep Truth. "Local reality appears stable. The planet shows no signs of hostile preparation," added Scout Destroyer Fast Strike. "No energy buildups, no defensive measures, no military mobilization." But Cross was not reassured. A species that could manipulate reality and then choose to stop was more dangerous than one that used such power constantly. It meant they had conscious control over abilities that most civilizations took millions of years to develop. "Maintain defensive perimeter," he ordered. Prepare for anything. But what came next was something no military force in galactic history had been prepared for. Earth's global communication networks activated simultaneously. Every radio telescope, every satellite transmitter, every internet connection on the planet began broadcasting the same message. But instead of being transmitted in radio waves or digital signals, the message was sent through quantum space itself, reaching every ship in the solar system instantly. Hello? The message began in perfect translation for each alien species. We know you are afraid of us. We understand why. We are afraid of ourselves sometimes. But we would like to try to explain what is happening here, and we hope you will listen before you decide what to do with us. Fleet Commander Cross felt a chill run through his armored shell. Instantaneous quantum communication across space was technology that only the most advanced civilizations possessed. Humans had somehow developed it in the few days since the scouts had arrived. The message continued. We are not trying to threaten anyone. We did not even know we could do the things you have seen until you arrived and started watching us. Your presence somehow activated abilities we did not know we had. On his command screen, Cross could see data flowing in from every ship in his fleet. His officers were recording the transmission, analyzing it, trying to understand how primitive humans could achieve such sophisticated communication. We have been watching your scout ships for several days, the human message said. Not with technology, but with our minds. Some of our people have been dreaming about you. Others have been having visions of your ships and your crews. We think your observation techniques somehow created a connection between our consciousness and yours. Commander Veltar was listening to the same transmission from his position near Earth. The human explanation made sense in a terrifying way. Ethereal stealth technology worked by existing partially outside normal space-time. If humans had natural quantum sensitivity, their minds might be able to detect phase-shifted objects through unconscious perception. We know this is frightening. The human message continued. We are frightened too. We never knew we could affect reality just by thinking together. We are still trying to understand how it works, but we want you to know that we stopped because we realized it was scaring you. We do not want to hurt anyone or cause fear. There was a pause in the transmission, and when it resumed, the tone was different. More personal somehow. We have been alone in space for our entire history as a species. We have looked up at the stars and wondered if anyone else was out there. We have dreamed of meeting other intelligent beings and learning from them. When we detected your ships, we were not afraid. We were excited. We still are. Another pause, and then the voice became almost pleading. We understand that we have abilities we do not fully understand. We know this makes us dangerous, but we also know ourselves. We are not conquerors, we are explorers. We do not want to rule anyone or destroy anything. We just want to learn and grow and maybe make friends with beings who can teach us things we never imagined. Fleet Commander Cross found himself listening despite his military training. There was something in the human transmission that felt genuine in a way that no diplomatic communication ever did. These beings seemed to be speaking from their hearts rather than from prepared scripts. We are going to share something with you, the message continued. We are going to show you who we are by letting you see into our minds. This is not an attack or an attempt to control you. We are simply going to broadcast our thoughts and feelings so you can judge for yourselves what kind of species we are. All ships, raise shields, Cross ordered immediately. Prepare for mental assault. But what came next was not an assault. It was an invitation. The space around the fleet filled with something that had never existed before in galactic history. Pure human consciousness broadcast through quantum space for anyone to experience. Not individual thoughts, but the collective essence of what it meant to be human. The aliens in the fleet suddenly found themselves experiencing human emotions directly. Wonder at the beauty of a sunset. Love for family and friends. Curiosity about how things work. The joy of discovery and the satisfaction of solving problems. The sadness of loss and the hope for tomorrow. But more than emotions, they experienced human dreams. The longing to explore space and find new worlds. The hope that somewhere among the stars were friends waiting to be met. The desire to learn and grow and become something greater than they were. Sir, reported Captain Nexus from the science vessel, I am experiencing unprecedented sensory input. The humans appear to be sharing their entire cultural and emotional heritage with us. Is it a weapon? Cross demanded. Negative, sir. It appears to be art, music, literature, scientific discoveries, mathematical proofs, historical records. They are showing us everything they are as a species. Through the quantum transmission, the fleet experienced human history. They saw a species that had struggled and fought and made terrible mistakes, but had always tried to learn from those mistakes. They saw humans reaching out to help each other across differences of race and culture and belief. They saw a species that valued creativity and compassion alongside strength and intelligence. They saw humans standing on their small world, looking up at infinite space, and choosing to hope rather than despair. Commander, reported Captain Form of Thought from Reality's Edge. The human mental broadcast is not random. It is carefully structured to show us specific things. They are demonstrating their capacity for both creativity and restraint, for both power and wisdom. What do you mean? Cross asked. They are showing us their weapons, sir. Nuclear bombs, biological agents, chemical weapons. But they are also showing us their treaties to control these weapons. They are demonstrating that they have the power to destroy themselves but have chosen not to use it. The transmission continued to flow through the fleet, showing human achievements in art and science and philosophy. But it also showed human failures, their wars and their mistakes, and their struggles to become better than they were. Most interesting, Captain Form of Thought continued, they are not trying to hide their flaws from us. They are showing us everything, both good and bad, and asking us to judge them based on the complete picture. This was unprecedented in galactic diplomacy. Most species tried to present their best face during first contact, hiding their weaknesses and emphasizing their strengths. But humans were deliberately showing the aliens their entire nature, trusting them to be fair in their judgment. But the most important part of the transmission was yet to come. We know you have rules about contact with primitive species, the human message said. We understand that these rules exist for good reasons, but we want you to know that we are not the same species we were when your scouts first arrived. Contact with your minds has changed us. We are evolving in real time, becoming something new. The quantum field around Earth began to shift and change, showing new patterns that demonstrated increasing sophistication and control. We are learning to control our abilities, the humans continued. Your presence has taught us that consciousness can affect reality, and we are teaching ourselves to do it safely. We do not want to be a danger to anyone, including ourselves. Sir, reported the science vessel's commander, sensors show the humans are actively modifying their own quantum field. They appear to be installing safeguards to prevent uncontrolled reality manipulation. This was impossible according to everything the galaxy knew about consciousness evolution. Species either developed naturally over millions of years or destroyed, themselves trying to advance too quickly. But humans seem to be consciously guiding their own development in response to the situation. We have a proposal, the human transmission said. Instead of deciding our fate for us, let us work together to find a solution. We will share everything we know about our abilities. We will accept teachers and advisors from your civilizations. We will submit to any safeguards you think are necessary. There was another pause, and when the voice resumed, it carried a note of quiet determination. But we will not be destroyed or imprisoned because you fear what we might become. We are willing to prove ourselves. We are willing to earn your trust. But we are also willing to defend ourselves if necessary. The space around Earth shimmered briefly, just for a moment, showing a glimpse of the power humans could command if they chose to use it. Reality bent and twisted, showing capabilities that could reshape star systems. Then it snapped back to normal, leaving only the quiet blue planet hanging peacefully in space. The message was clear. Humans could be dangerous if threatened, but they preferred to be peaceful if given the choice. We are sending representatives to meet with you, the transmission concluded. Not through our technology, but through our consciousness. 3 human minds will project themselves to your ships to speak with your commanders directly. We ask only that you listen to what they have to say before you make your final decision about our species. Fleet Commander Cross found himself facing a situation that no military training had prepared him for. He was about to conduct first contact negotiations with beings who could project their consciousness across space, manipulate reality through thought, and apparently evolve their own abilities in real time. And somehow, despite all their impossible capabilities, they still just wanted to be friends. All ships, he ordered quietly, stand down from battle stations. Prepare to receive human consciousness projections for diplomatic contact. It was either the beginning of a new age of galactic cooperation or the most sophisticated trap any species had ever set. But as the first human mind began to materialize in his command center, Fleet Commander Cross realized that he was about to find out which one it was. The human consciousness that materialized in Fleet Commander Cross's command center was nothing like he had expected. Instead of a threatening presence or an alien mind too strange to understand, he found himself facing what felt like a friendly neighbor who had stopped by to introduce themselves. The projection appeared as a gentle glow of warm light that somehow conveyed the impression of a middle-aged human female with kind eyes and a patient smile. "Hello," the consciousness said, its voice carrying directly into the minds of everyone present. "My name is Dr. Sarah Chen. I am a quantum physicist from Earth, and I am here representing my species in the hope that we can find a peaceful solution to our current situation." Cross had conducted first contact with dozens of species during his military career. Most involved complex translation protocols, careful cultural briefings, and formal diplomatic procedures. But this human seemed to be speaking to him as if they were old friends, meeting for coffee. "Dr. Chen," Cross replied carefully. "I am Fleet Commander Cross of the Galactic Council Emergency Response Division. I must inform you that your species is considered a potential threat to galactic security." "I understand," Sarah replied with genuine sympathy. "We really did not mean to frighten anyone. We are as surprised by our abilities as you are, but we would like to explain what we think is happening and see if we can work together to address your concerns." Similar conversations were taking place aboard the other ships in the fleet. 2 other human consciousness projections had appeared, each adapting their communication style to the species they were addressing. On the science vessel Deep Truth, a human who introduced himself as Dr. James Wright was discussing quantum mechanics with fascinated alien researchers. Aboard Scout Destroyer Fast Strike, a woman named Captain Lisa Rodriguez was explaining human military philosophy to confused alien warriors. "Dr. Chen," Cross said, "our sensors indicate your species has developed reality manipulation abilities that typically take millions of years to evolve. How is this possible?" Sarah's projection flickered slightly, as if she was thinking carefully about how to answer. "We believe it has to do with how human consciousness works. Most species develop either individual awareness or collective thinking, but humans seem to have both at the same time. We are individuals, but we are also connected to each other in ways we are just beginning to understand." She paused, and when she continued, her voice carried notes of wonder and excitement. "When your scout ships arrived and began observing us, they somehow activated connections that were already there but dormant. We think human consciousness naturally exists partially outside normal spacetime, but we never knew it until something showed us how to look." "That is impossible," Cross stated. "Consciousness existing outside normal reality requires technological assistance or millions of years of evolution." "Yes, that is what our scientists thought too," Sarah replied with what sounded like amusement. "But we have discovered that humans do many impossible things without realizing it. We create art that moves people to tears without understanding the neurological mechanisms involved. We develop intuitive solutions to complex problems without following logical procedures. We form emotional bonds that transcend physical distance." She gestured, and the space around them filled with images from human history. Scientists making breakthrough discoveries through sudden inspiration. Artists creating works that captured universal truths. Ordinary people performing extraordinary acts of courage and compassion. "We think these abilities are all connected," Sarah continued. "Human consciousness seems to work by reaching into spaces between normal reality and bringing back things that should not exist. We call it creativity. But it might actually be a form of natural quantum manipulation. Cross examined the evidence she was presenting. Human achievements in art, science, and technology did show patterns that were difficult to explain through normal developmental models. They made leaps of understanding that should have taken much longer to achieve. But if humans have always had these abilities, he asked, why are they only manifesting now? We think it requires some kind of trigger, Sarah explained. Something that shows us the connections are there. Your observation techniques created a quantum bridge between our consciousness and yours. Once we realized the connection was possible, we started unconsciously expanding it. Dr. Chen, came a transmission from the science vessel. This is Captain Nexus. We have been analyzing your species' technological development patterns. Your progress shows signs of what we call impossible innovation. You have developed technologies using principles you do not fully understand. Sarah's projection brightened. Yes, exactly. We build things that work before we understand why they work. Our computers developed faster than our understanding of computation. Our quantum experiments produced results that our theories said were impossible. We have been unconsciously reaching beyond our knowledge level for centuries. This explains much, Captain Nexus continued. Your species has been operating on enhanced consciousness without realizing it. Contact with our observation methods simply made you aware of abilities you already possessed. But Fleet Commander, Cross was still concerned about the security implications. Dr. Chen, your species has demonstrated the ability to manipulate reality on a massive scale. How can we be certain you will not use these abilities as weapons? Sarah's projection became more serious. Commander Cross, I would like to show you something. With your permission, I will share with you our species' deepest fear. Before Cross could respond, his mind was filled with human thoughts and emotions. But instead of the wonder and curiosity he had experienced before, he now felt fear. Deep, overwhelming terror that humans carried about their own potential for destruction. He saw human history from their perspective. Wars that had killed millions. Weapons that could destroy their entire world. The constant struggle between humanity's capacity for creation and their capacity for destruction. He felt their horror at what they were capable of when they lost control. We are more afraid of ourselves than you are of us, Sarah said quietly. We know what we can do when we are not careful. We have seen what happens when humans gain power without wisdom. That is why we stopped our reality manipulation when we realized it was frightening you. We would rather be powerless than dangerous. The projection paused, and when she continued, her voice carried absolute conviction. But we have also learned from our mistakes. We have built systems to control our destructive impulses. We have created laws and treaties and institutions designed to prevent us from using our most dangerous weapons. We can do the same with these new abilities. How? Cross asked. Together, Sarah replied. We cannot do this alone. We need teachers and advisors and partners who understand these abilities better than we do. We need the wisdom of older civilizations to help us grow safely. Similar discussions were happening across the fleet. Human consciousness projections were sharing information about their society, their technology, and their dreams for the future. But they were also asking questions about galactic civilization, about how other species had learned to control dangerous abilities, about what it meant to be part of a community of worlds. Dr. Chen, Cross said slowly, what exactly are you proposing? A partnership, she replied. We will share everything we know about consciousness-based reality manipulation. We will accept advisors from your civilizations to help us develop safeguards. We will submit to monitoring and inspection to prove we are not a threat. And in return, we want to join the galactic community. We want to learn from other species and contribute what we can to the common good. We want to explore space and discover new worlds and maybe help solve problems that require our particular kind of thinking. The request was reasonable, but Cross still had concerns. Dr. Chen, your species has developed capabilities in days that took others millions of years. How can we be certain you will not continue to evolve beyond our ability to monitor or control? Sarah's projection flickered with what seemed like sadness. You cannot be certain. We cannot be certain either. We are changing in ways we do not fully understand. But we can promise you this. We will never stop trying to be worthy of your trust." She paused, and when she continued, her voice carried a note of quiet determination. "But Commander Cross, we also need you to understand something. We are not going to stop existing because you are afraid of us. We are not going to limit our growth because it makes you uncomfortable. We are willing to work with you, but we are not willing to be imprisoned or destroyed." The space around the fleet shimmered briefly, showing a glimpse of the power humans could command if they chose to defend themselves. But it was not a threat. It was a statement of fact. "We prefer cooperation," Sarah continued. "We want to be part of something larger than ourselves, but we will survive and grow regardless of what you decide. The question is whether we do it together or separately." Fleet Commander Cross found himself facing the most important decision of his career. The humans were offering partnership, but they were also making it clear that they would not accept subjugation. They wanted to join galactic civilization as equals, not as subjects. "Dr. Chen," he said finally, "I need to consult with the Galactic Council before making any decisions about your species' future." "Of course," Sarah replied. "But while you are consulting, we would like to make one more demonstration." "What kind of demonstration?" Sarah's projection smiled. "We want to show you something wonderful." The space around Earth suddenly filled with light, but it was not the harsh glare of weapons or the cold illumination of technology. It was warm, creative light that seemed to sing with joy and possibility. Human consciousness expanded outward from their planet, not as a weapon or a tool, but as art. They painted patterns of pure thought across space, created music from the vibrations of solar wind, and built sculptures from gravity and time itself. It was beautiful beyond description, and it was completely harmless. "This is what we want to do with our abilities," Sarah explained. "We want to create wonders that have never existed before. We want to explore possibilities that no one has ever imagined. We want to share the joy of discovery with friends among the stars." The artistic display continued for several minutes, showing the galactic fleet visions of human creativity, expanded beyond the limitations of physical matter. They saw cities that existed as pure consciousness, music that played across multiple dimensions, and stories that could be experienced as living reality. When it ended, the space around Earth returned to normal, but the impression of infinite creative possibility lingered in every alien mind that had witnessed it. "That is our gift to the galaxy," Sarah said. "Not weapons or threats or demands for power, just the chance to imagine new things and bring them into existence together." Fleet Commander Cross stared at the quiet blue planet below and realized that the galaxy was about to change forever. Humans had demonstrated abilities that could revolutionize civilization or destroy it completely, but they had also shown that they wanted to use those abilities to create rather than destroy. "Dr. Chen," he said quietly, "I will recommend to the Galactic Council that your species be granted provisional membership in galactic civilization, subject to appropriate safeguards and monitoring." "Thank you," Sarah replied with obvious relief. "We understand this is just the beginning. We have a lot to learn and a lot to prove, but we are ready to do the work." As the human consciousness projections faded away, Fleet Commander Cross prepared his report for the Galactic Council. He would recommend caution, but he would also recommend acceptance. Humans were dangerous, but they were also something the galaxy had never seen before, a species with the power of gods who still wanted to be friends. The age of human expansion into the galaxy was about to begin, and nothing would ever be the same. Far below on the surface of Earth, humans looked up at the stars with new understanding. They were no longer alone in the universe, and they were no longer the same species they had been just days before. They were something new, something that existed between the possible and the impossible, between the known and the unknown. They were human, and they were ready to show the galaxy what that meant. The stars stretched endlessly outside the viewport of the USS Thunderbolt. Captain Jack Reed stood with his hands clasped behind his back, watching the darkness of space. The ship, Earth's newest and most advanced warship, cut through the void, with barely a whisper. "Status report," Jack said, his voice calm but commanding. Commander Lisa Wells looked up from her console. All systems normal, Captain. We're at the edge of human space now. This is where the colony ships disappeared. Jack nodded. 6 ships gone in the last 3 months. No distress calls, no debris, just gone. The Thunderbolt had been sent to find answers, but so far they had found only silence. Dr. Gray, anything on your sensors? Jack asked. Dr. Alan Gray, the ship's chief scientist, shook his head. His fingers danced across his screen. Nothing unusual, Captain, but there's a lot of space to cover. Keep looking, Jack ordered. He turned to his chief engineer. Stone, how's our new engine holding up? Mike Stone grunted. The gruff engineer rarely used 2 words when one would do. Good. Better than expected. Jack allowed himself a small smile. The Thunderbolt was a marvel of human engineering. Its weapons, shields and engines were years ahead of anything else in the fleet. If something was hunting colony ships out here, they were ready for it. Captain, Lisa said suddenly, her voice sharp. Sensors picking up multiple objects approaching, not ours. Jack straightened. Show me. The main screen flickered to life. A dozen ships, sleek and alien, moved in perfect formation toward Earth territory. First contact, Dr. Gray whispered, eyes wide with excitement. Or first battle, Lisa countered, her hand hovering over the weapons controls. Jack raised a hand. Hold. Let's see what they want first. The alien fleet stopped just outside weapons range. For several minutes, nothing happened. Then, a signal came through. They're hailing us, Lisa reported. Put them on, Jack ordered. The screen changed to show a humanoid figure. It had gray-blue skin, large eyes, and no visible nose. When it spoke, its mouth moved strangely, but the words came through clearly in English. Greetings, Earth vessel. I am Fleet Commander Dax of the Vorax Hegemony. You have entered space of interest to us. Jack stepped forward. I am Captain Jack Reed of the USS Thunderbolt. We are investigating the disappearance of several human ships in this region. The alien's expression didn't change. We know of no disappeared ships, but we would like to scan your vessel. This is standard protocol when we encounter new species. Lisa muted the transmission. Captain, I don't recommend allowing that. They could gather tactical information. Mike nodded in agreement. Bad idea. Jack considered for a moment. Dr. Gray? The scientist looked thoughtful. It could be a genuine cultural practice, and we might learn something about them from how they scan us. Jack unmuted the transmission. We will permit a basic scan, Commander Dax, as a gesture of goodwill. Wise decision, Dax replied. Jack turned to Mike. Activate Defense Protocol 7. Mike nodded and began typing rapidly. Protocol 7 would allow the scan, but feed back carefully selected information. Nothing classified would be revealed, but nothing obviously hidden either. It was a delicate balance. Ready, Captain, Mike reported. You may begin your scan, Commander Dax, Jack said. A soft blue light washed over the bridge as the alien scan penetrated the ship. It lasted 30 seconds, then stopped. On the screen, Commander Dax's expression changed. His large eyes widened even further. His mouth opened slightly. For a moment, he seemed unable to speak. Is something wrong? Jack asked. Dax snapped out of his shock. No, nothing is wrong. Scan complete. Thank you for your cooperation. Before Jack could respond, the transmission cut off. The alien fleet immediately began to move away at high speed. They're running, Lisa said in disbelief. Jack frowned. Why? What did they see? Mike was checking his systems. Protocol 7 worked perfectly. They shouldn't have seen anything too interesting. Dr. Gray was studying his readings. Captain, their scan was much more powerful than it should have been. It got through some of our defenses. How much did they see? Jack demanded. I'm not sure, Dr. Gray admitted. But more than we wanted them to. Lisa looked at Jack. Orders, Captain? Jack stared at the retreating alien fleet. Something about their reaction bothered him. Fear. That's what he had seen on Commander Dax's face, but fear of what? Follow them, he decided. Keep your distance, but don't lose them. Aye, Captain, Lisa replied, setting the course. For 3 days, the Thunderbolt followed the alien ships deeper into unknown space. The Vorax fleet maintained their hurried pace, occasionally changing course but never attempting to confront their pursuer. On the 4th day, they reached a densely packed star cluster. The Vorax ships split up, heading for different worlds. Which one do we follow? Lisa asked. Jack studied the sensor data. The biggest one, Commander Dax's ship. The Thunderbolt shadowed Dax's vessel to a large blue-green planet. The alien ship descended to the surface while the Thunderbolt remained in high orbit. Scan the planet, Jack ordered. Dr. Gray worked his instruments. Massive civilization, Captain. Cities covering entire continents. Technology level appears similar to ours, maybe higher in some areas. Any signs they've detected us? Jack asked. Lisa shook her head. None. Their orbital defenses haven't activated. Jack turned to Mike. I want the stealth systems at maximum. Let's see what's happening down there. Mike nodded and got to work. Dr. Gray suddenly looked up from his console. Captain, I'm picking up unusual communications traffic. Massive amounts of data being transmitted across the planet. Can you decode any of it? Jack asked. Working on it, Dr. Gray replied. After several minutes, he looked up with a troubled expression. It's fragmentary, but I'm seeing references to human technology, unexpected capabilities, and something that translates roughly as existential threat. Jack's eyes narrowed. They're afraid of us. But why? Lisa asked. We didn't threaten them. They saw something in our ship that scared them, Jack said. Something they didn't expect. Mike grunted. Serves them right for looking where they shouldn't. Dr. Gray continued monitoring the communications. Captain, I think they're calling some kind of emergency meeting. Important figures from across their territory are being summoned to the capital city. Jack nodded slowly. So they scan us, get scared, and call a meeting of their leaders. Interesting. What's our next move? Lisa asked. Jack thought for a moment. We stay and watch, we learn, and we prepare. He turned to look at his crew. Something tells me this isn't over. The Vorax ran today, but they won't run forever. Whatever they saw in us frightened them enough to retreat, but fear can lead to different responses. Like what? Dr. Gray asked. Like trying to make friends with what you fear, Jack said. Or trying to destroy it before it destroys you. Lisa nodded grimly. So we wait and see which path they choose. Exactly, Jack said, turning back to the viewport to stare down at the alien world below. And either way we'll be ready. In the Vorax capital city, Commander Dax stood before the Supreme Council, his hands shaking slightly as he prepared to show them what the scan had revealed about the human vessel. Information that had made him order an immediate retreat. Information that would change everything. The Supreme Leader entered, and the room fell silent. Show us, the leader commanded. Show us what has you so afraid of these humans. Dax nodded and activated the display. The detailed scans of the USS Thunderbolt appeared, revealing secrets that would keep the Vorax leaders awake for many nights to come. The Grand Council chamber on Voros Prime fell silent as the scan data of the human warship filled the massive display screen. Supreme Leader Tark leaned forward on his throne, his gray-blue skin turning a shade paler. This cannot be correct, he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Commander Dax stood tall despite his fear. The scan was thorough, Supreme Leader. The data is accurate. Science Director Elka moved closer to the display, her expert eyes analyzing every detail. The human vessel's power readings are impossible. Their shield technology is beyond anything we have seen before. How? Tark demanded. We have conquered 7 species across this sector. None have technology that comes close to ours. Elka pointed to a section of the scan. Look here. Their weapon systems. They use principles we've never even considered. And here, she swiped to another image. Their engine core. It's completely different from our approach. The council members murmured among themselves. For centuries, the Vorax had ruled through technological superiority. They had never faced a species with more advanced technology. Tark turned to Commander Dax. You fled from a single ship? Dax straightened his shoulders. Supreme Leader, our scans indicated that this single ship could have destroyed our entire fleet. It was the logical choice. Logical, perhaps. But now they know we exist, and they know we're afraid. Tark said coldly. He rose from his throne and walked to the window overlooking the capital city. Towers of gleaming metal stretched to the sky, a testament to Vorax achievement. 7 conquered worlds supplied resources and labor to make it all possible. How did they advance so quickly? Tark asked. Our last intelligence from that sector showed primitive technology. That information is nearly 50 years old, Elka pointed out. We've been focused on consolidating our current territories. Tark nodded slowly. A mistake. One that could cost us everything. He turned back to face the council. Show me the images of the human crew. The screen changed to show Captain Jack Reed on the bridge of the Thunderbolt. Additional images showed other crew members at their stations. They look so ordinary, one council member commented. That is what makes them dangerous, Tark replied. They appear weak, but they have built something that threatens our entire way of life. Commander Dax cleared his throat. What are your orders, Supreme Leader? Tark was silent for a long moment. Are they still in orbit? Yes, Dax confirmed. Observing us. They think we haven't detected them, but our deep space sensors can track their position. Tark smiled for the first time. Good. At least we have that advantage. He paced the length of the chamber, thinking. We need time. Time to understand their technology. Time to develop countermeasures. And if they attack? Another council member asked. They won't, Tark said confidently. Not yet. They're curious. They want to know why we ran. We can use that curiosity. He turned to Elka. How long would you need to study their technology if you had full access to their ship? The science director considered. Months at minimum. Their approach is so different from ours. Tark nodded. Then we must gain that time. He faced the council. We will extend the hand of friendship to these humans, offer them trade, cultural exchange, scientific cooperation. Commander Dax looked shocked. Supreme Leader, are you suggesting an alliance with these humans? Of course not, Tark snapped. It is merely a tactic. While our diplomats talk of peace and cooperation, our scientists will study their technology. Once we understand it, we can neutralize their advantage. Elka appeared troubled. Supreme Leader, what if we cannot match their technology quickly enough? Tark's expression hardened. Then we must find other ways to defeat them. Every species has weaknesses. Perhaps humans rely too much on their technology. Perhaps they lack the will to use it effectively. We will find their weakness and we will exploit it. He walked back to his throne and sat down. Prepare a diplomatic message. Invite the human ship to send representatives to neutral space for talks. Make it sound sincere. What if they refuse? Dax asked. They won't, Tark said. They are curious, and curiosity is a dangerous weakness. They will come. Back on the Thunderbolt, Dr. Gray was the first to notice the incoming transmission. Captain, we're receiving a message from the planet's surface. Jack looked up from the report he was reading. Put it on screen. The face of Supreme Leader Tark appeared. His expression was friendly, open. Greetings, Captain Reed of Earth. I am Supreme Leader Tark of the Vorax Hegemony. I wish to apologize for Commander Dax's abrupt departure during our first meeting. There was a misunderstanding. Jack's expression revealed nothing. No apology. Needed, Supreme Leader. We were simply concerned when your ships left so suddenly. Tark smiled. A regrettable error in protocol. We would like to make amends by inviting you to a diplomatic meeting. A chance for our peoples to learn about each other. Lisa, standing next to Jack, whispered, I don't trust this. Jack gave a slight nod to show he heard her. To Tark, he said, That's a generous offer. Where would this meeting take place? There is a space station called Harmony Point in a nearby system. It is neutral territory, used by various species for trade and diplomacy. Would that be acceptable? Jack pretended to consider. It could be. I would need to consult with my superiors. Tark's smile didn't waver. Of course, take all the time you need. We are eager to establish friendly relations with Earth. After the transmission ended, Jack turned to his crew. Thoughts? Mike spoke first. Trap. Lisa nodded in agreement. Definitely. They were terrified of us yesterday. Now they want to be friends? I don't buy it. Dr. Gray looked thoughtful. It could be genuine. Perhaps they realized their initial fear was exaggerated. Jack walked to the viewport, looking down at the alien world. No, Lisa and Mike are right. This is a trap, but not the kind we might expect. What do you mean? Lisa asked. They're not planning to attack us at this meeting, Jack explained. They want to study us, learn about our technology, find our weaknesses. Doctor, Gray nodded slowly. That makes sense. From what we've observed, the Vorax based their entire civilization on technological superiority. Our ship frightened them because it suggested we might be more advanced. So what do? Lisa asked. Refuse the meeting? Jack turned back to face them, a small smile forming on his lips. No. We accept. Mike grunted in surprise. Why? Because it works both ways, Jack said. While they're studying us, we'll be studying them, and we have an advantage they don't know about. What's that? Dr. Gray asked. Jack's smile grew wider. They only think they detected us in orbit. They don't know about our second stealth shuttle that landed on the far side of their planet last night. Lisa's eyes widened. You sent a team to the surface? When? While you were all sleeping, Jack said. A small team, hand-picked. They're gathering intelligence even as we speak. That's why you seemed so calm about being detected, Dr. Gray realized. Jack nodded. The Vorax think they're one step ahead of us. Let's keep them thinking that. He turned to Lisa. Send a message to Earth Command. Tell them everything we've learned and our plan to accept the diplomatic meeting. And the shuttle team? Lisa asked. They'll continue their mission and meet us at Harmony Point, Jack said. By then we should know much more about what we're dealing with. Mike nodded with grudging approval. Clever. Let's just hope it's clever enough, Jack said, his expression turning serious again, because something tells me the Vorax didn't build their empire by playing nice. On the planet below, Supreme Leader Tark watched the human warship with calculating eyes. They will accept, he told Commander Dax, and when they do, their doom will be sealed. Little did he know that at that very moment human eyes were watching him from much closer than he could imagine. Harmony Point space station hung in the darkness like a giant metal snowflake. Ships from different worlds docked at its many arms. At one end, the USS Thunderbolt waited. At the opposite end, the Vorax diplomatic vessel had arrived 3 days earlier. Ambassador Tom Williams adjusted his formal uniform as he prepared to meet the Vorax representatives. Captain Jack Reed stood nearby, watching the ambassador with careful eyes. Remember, Jack said quietly, they want something from us. Don't be too eager to give it. Tom nodded. He was an experienced diplomat with gray hair and calm eyes. This isn't my first dance with aliens who have hidden motives, Captain. Security Chief Kate Miller checked her tablet one more time. My team is in position throughout the station. If the Vorax try anything, we'll know. The door to the meeting room slid open. 3 Vorax entered, led by a tall figure in flowing robes. Ambassador Williams, Captain Reed. The lead Vorax said smoothly, I am Diplomat Zeal. Supreme Leader Tark sends his warmest greetings. Tom stepped forward with a practiced smile. The pleasure is ours, Diplomat Zeal. Earth looks forward to establishing friendly relations with the Vorax hegemony. They all sat at a large round table. Servers brought drinks and food suitable for both species. I must say, Zeal began, we are most impressed by your vessel, the Thunderbolt. Such advanced technology in a species we had not yet encountered. Jack kept his face neutral. We're equally interested in learning about Vorax achievements. Your empire spans several star systems, I understand? A flash of surprise crossed Zeal's face before he could hide it. "You are well informed, Captain." "We try to be," Jack replied. For the next 2 hours, they discussed trade possibilities, cultural exchanges, and scientific cooperation. The Vorax seemed especially interested in joint research projects involving Earth's propulsion and shield technology. "Perhaps a tour of your vessel might help us understand how we could best work together," Zeal suggested casually. Tom smiled. "A wonderful idea, and we would be honored to tour your ships as well." Zeal's smile flickered. "Of course, though our vessels are currently undergoing maintenance." "What a shame," Jack said. "Another time, perhaps." When the meeting ended, Kate approached Jack as the Vorax left the room. "One of my team spotted a Vorax technician near the Thunderbolt's docking port," she reported quietly. "He claimed to be checking station systems, but the station manager confirmed no such checks were scheduled." Jack nodded. "They're getting impatient. Have Mike double the security on all ship systems." "Already done," Kate said. "And our special package?" "Being delivered as we speak," Jack replied with a small smile. On the Vorax side of the station, Diplomat Zeal met with a technician in a secure room. "Did you get access to their ship?" Zeal demanded. The technician shook his head. "Impossible. Their security is too tight, but I placed scanning devices nearby. We're getting some readings." "Not enough," Zeal hissed. "Supreme Leader Tark wants their technology. The diplomatic approach is taking too long." "There is another way," the technician suggested. "We've identified their chief engineer. He often visits the station's bar after his shift, perhaps with the right conversation and the right drinks." Zeal smiled. "Yes, make it happen." Mike Stone sat at the bar, enjoying a rare moment away from the ship. The colorful drink in front of him was his third of the evening. A Vorax sat down beside him. "You are from the Earth ship, yes? An engineer, I believe." Mike looked at the alien through narrowed eyes. "Who's asking?" "Just a fellow engineer," the Vorax said, ordering a drink. "I'm fascinated by different approaches to similar problems. Your ship's design is intriguing." Mike grunted. "Is it now?" "Yes," the Vorax continued, "especially your propulsion system. We've never seen anything quite like it." Mike took another drink. "Bet you haven't." "Perhaps we could discuss some technical details?" Engineer to engineer, Mike laughed suddenly. "Sure. Let me tell you all about our special warp coils. They're made from a rare material. We call it bullshit." The Vorax looked confused. "Bullshit? I'm not familiar with this material." Mike stood up, surprisingly steady for a man who'd had 3 drinks. "It means I know what you're doing and it's not working. Good night." He walked away, leaving the frustrated Vorax at the bar. In his quarters, Dr. Gray worked late into the night. The data from the stealth team on the Vorax homeworld had been revealing. He compiled his findings and sent them to Captain Reed's secure tablet. Minutes later, Jack appeared at his door. "This confirms our suspicions," Jack said, holding up the tablet. "The Vorax have conquered 7 other species by leveraging technological superiority." Dr. Gray nodded. "And each conquered species is essentially enslaved, forced to provide resources and labor to the hegemony." Jack's expression darkened. "No wonder they were so frightened by our ship. We're the first potential threat to their way of life." "There's more," Dr. Gray said. "According to the data, their fleet is mobilizing. Despite these peace talks, they're preparing for war." Jack wasn't surprised. "How long do we have?" "A week, maybe less." Jack nodded. "Then we need to move to the next phase of our plan." Ambassador Tom met with Diplomat Zeal the next day. The Vorax seemed tense. "We have prepared a draft agreement," Tom said, sliding a tablet across the table. "A starting point for our future relationship." Zeal glanced at it. "This is generous." "Earth believes in fair dealings," Tom replied. Zeal forced a smile. "We will review it carefully, but perhaps we could speed things along by beginning the technology exchange immediately." A show of good faith. Tom looked thoughtful. Actually, Captain Reed has authorized me to share some technical data as a gesture of trust. Zeal couldn't hide his excitement. That is excellent news. Tom handed over a data crystal. Basic schematics for our shield modulation system. Nothing classified, but it should demonstrate our willingness to work together. Zeal took the crystal carefully. The hegemony appreciates this gesture. We will prepare something similar to share with you. After the meeting, Zeal rushed to a secure room where Science Director Elka waited. We have it, Zeal said triumphantly, handing over the crystal. The humans are more trusting than we anticipated. Elka inserted the crystal into a reader. Her eyes widened as she studied the schematics. This is remarkable, simple yet elegant. Our engineers can adapt this to our systems quickly. How soon? Zeal asked. Days, not weeks, Elka replied. With this, we might not need to wait for the full fleet to arrive. Excellent, Zeal said. Inform Supreme Leader Tark. The humans have given us exactly what we needed. Back on the Thunderbolt, Jack met with Tom in his private quarters. Did they take the bait? Jack asked. Tom smiled. Like a hungry fish, Zeal could barely contain himself. Good, Jack said. And they don't suspect? Not at all. The schematics look completely authentic. Jack nodded with satisfaction. Mike did. Excellent work. The shield modifications they're studying will seem to work perfectly in simulations. But in actual combat? Tom asked. Jack's smile was cold. They'll fail catastrophically at the worst possible moment. By the time they realize what we've done, it will be too late. Outside the viewport, the space station turned slowly. Both sides prepared for what was coming, each believing they had the upper hand, but only one side was right. The alarm blared throughout the Thunderbolt, waking Captain Jack Reed from a light sleep. He was dressed and on the bridge in less than 2 minutes. Report, he commanded, taking his seat. Lisa looked up from her console. Vorax fleet detected. Captain, 30 ships approaching from multiple vectors. They've dropped all pretense of diplomacy. Jack nodded. He had expected this. The Vorax had studied the false shield schematics for 3 days. Their confidence must be high now. Battle stations, he ordered calmly. Where's Ambassador Williams? Already returned to the Thunderbolt, sir, Kate Miller reported. The Vorax. Delegation left Harmony Point 6 hours ago without notice. And our other ships? Lisa checked her screen. The Aurora and the Phoenix are in position but hidden. The Vorax don't know they're there. Jack allowed himself a small smile. Earth had sent reinforcements but kept them concealed. The Vorax thought they were facing only the Thunderbolt. Open a channel to the Vorax fleet, Jack ordered. The main screen flickered to life, showing Supreme Leader Tark himself. He sat on what looked like a command throne on the bridge of his flagship. Captain Reed, Tark said, his voice cold. Your deception ends today. Jack raised an eyebrow. Deception? We came in peace. You were the ones preparing for war while talking of friendship. Tark smiled. A necessary precaution. Your kind represents a threat to the natural order. Your technology must not be allowed to spread. And what natural order is that? Jack asked. The one where the Vorax rule over 7 enslaved species. Tark's smile vanished. You know too much. It is fortunate we will not need to negotiate your surrender. We already have what we need from you. The transmission ended abruptly. They're powering weapons, Lisa reported, her voice steady despite the tension. Jack leaned forward in his chair. All crew, prepare for combat. Defense Protocol Omega now in effect. Throughout the ship, crew members activated special systems that had been hidden until this moment. The Thunderbolt's power signature began to change. Mike's voice came over the comm from engineering. Ready down here, Captain. They're in for a surprise. Good, Jack replied. Hold steady. Let them make the first move. The Vorax didn't wait long. Their lead ships opened fire, energy beams streaking across space toward the Thunderbolt. Impact in 3 seconds, Lisa called out. Jack gripped his armrests. Steady. The Vorax weapons hit the Thunderbolt's shields. There was a flash of light, but the ship barely shuddered. Shields holding at 98%, Lisa reported with a grin. On the Vorax flagship, Tark stared in disbelief at his tactical display. Impossible. Their shields should have failed. The schematics showed a weakness in the modulation pattern. Science Director Elka looked pale. They tricked us. The schematics were false. How bad is it? Tark demanded. Our weapons are barely affecting their shields, a tactical officer reported. And there's something else. Their power signature is changing. It's much stronger than our initial scan showed. Tark slammed his fist on his throne. They've been hiding their true capabilities all along. Back on the Thunderbolt, Jack watched the Vorax fleet with calm eyes. They've realized their mistake. Time to show them what we can really do. He nodded to Lisa. Target their flagship's weapon systems. Fire when ready. Lisa's fingers danced across her console. Firing. The Thunderbolt's main weapons array glowed bright blue, then released a concentrated beam of energy that cut through space like a knife. It struck the Vorax flagship with precision, destroying its primary weapons array in a flash of light and debris. Direct hit, Lisa reported. Their main weapons are disabled. Now the secondary ships, Jack ordered. The Thunderbolt moved with surprising speed for a vessel its size, turning to face the next target. 2 more precision strikes disabled 2 more Vorax ships. The remaining ships are adjusting their attack pattern, Lisa warned. They're trying to surround us. Jack nodded. Just as we expected. Signal the Aurora and Phoenix. Time to spring the trap. From their hidden positions, 2 more Earth warships suddenly appeared, their stealth systems deactivated. They immediately opened fire on the unsuspecting Vorax fleet from behind. Caught between 3 Earth warships, the Vorax fleet fell into chaos. Some ships tried to flee, others continued fighting, but their coordination was broken. On the Vorax flagship, alarms blared as systems failed. We're surrounded, the tactical officer shouted. 2 more human ships appeared from nowhere. Tark's face had turned a dark shade of blue with rage and fear. How? How did they know? Elka had no answer. Nothing in her experience had prepared her for this. The Vorax had always been the technological superiors in any conflict. They had never faced an enemy that could outthink and outfight them. Supreme Leader, Commander Dax called urgently. Our shields are failing across the fleet. 4 ships have already been disabled. Tark stared at the tactical display in disbelief. The human ships were systematically targeting weapons and engines, disabling the Vorax vessels without destroying them. They're not even trying to kill us, he realized, aloud. They're toying with us. Should we surrender? Dax asked quietly. Tark's pride rebelled at the thought, but his survival instinct was stronger. Open a channel to the Thunderbolt. On the Thunderbolt's bridge, Jack answered the incoming transmission. Tark's face appeared on screen, no longer confident, but still defiant. Enough, Captain Reed, Tark said. You have made your point. We will withdraw. Jack shook his head. Not good enough, Supreme Leader. Your fleet is disabled. You will surrender to Earth forces immediately. And if we refuse? Tark challenged. Jack's expression was cold. Then we will be forced to demonstrate the true power of our weapons. So far, we've been careful not to cause unnecessary loss of life. That can change. Tark's face showed conflict, but finally he nodded. Very well, we surrender. After the transmission ended, Lisa turned to Jack. That was almost too easy. This was just the battle, Jack replied. Winning the peace will be harder. The Earth ships moved among the disabled Vorax vessels, securing them one by one. Boarding parties transferred to the Vorax flagship, led by Kate Miller. Hours later, Kate brought Commander Dax to the Thunderbolt's conference room. Jack was waiting with Dr. Gray and Mike. Welcome aboard, Commander, Jack said. Please sit down. Dax sat stiffly, his pride clearly wounded. Your victory was impressive, but this isn't over. The hegemony spans many worlds. We know, Jack replied. Our stealth teams have visited several of them. Dax couldn't hide his shock. Impossible. We would have detected them. Mike laughed. Like you detected our other ships, or our true shield capabilities? Or the fact that we fed you false technical data? Jack leaned forward. You've built your empire on technological intimidation, Commander. But technology isn't enough. You need innovation, adaptability, and something else. What? Dax asked, bitterly. Humanity, Dr. Gray answered. Not just being human, but the quality itself. Compassion, respect for others. Things the Vorax hegemony has forgotten. Jack nodded. Your empire is built on sand, Commander. And now, it's about to collapse. Dax's eyes widened as he finally understood the full extent of his people's defeat. It wasn't just a military loss, it was the end of everything they had built. Outside the viewport, the disabled Vorax fleet drifted against the backdrop of stars. The battle was over, but as Jack had said, the real challenge was just beginning. 1 week after the battle, the Thunderbolt led a fleet of Earth ships toward Voros Prime. Captain Jack Reed stood on the bridge, looking at the blue-green planet growing larger on the view screen. Status of the Vorax defenses? He asked. Lisa checked. Her console. Powered down as agreed, Captain. Our ships have clear access to the planet. Jack nodded. After Supreme Leader Tark's surrender, Earth had moved quickly. With their military crippled and their leader captured, the Vorax government had little choice but to accept Earth's terms. Any sign of resistance? Jack asked. None so far, Lisa replied. The population seems calm, if confused. Most citizens have only been told there's been a change in leadership. Dr. Gray looked up from his station. That's not surprising. Our intelligence shows most Vorax citizens know very little about their government's actions in other star systems. The comm system chimed. Captain, Kate Miller's voice came through. The representatives have arrived in the main hall. They're ready for you. On my way, Jack replied. In the Thunderbolt's largest meeting room, Jack found an unusual gathering. Along with Supreme Leader Tark and Commander Dax, there were 7 other aliens, each from a different species. These were representatives of the worlds conquered by the Vorax. Ambassador Tom Williams made the introductions. Captain Reed, these are the delegates from the liberated worlds. They've come to witness the formal dissolution of the Vorax hegemony. Jack shook hands or exchanged appropriate greetings with each delegate. Their appearances varied widely, but all shared the same look of cautious hope in their eyes. Tark sat in sullen silence, his once proud posture now slumped in defeat. Dax stood behind him, watching the proceedings with a soldier's stoicism. Jack took his position at the head of the table. 3 weeks ago, the USS Thunderbolt was sent to investigate disappeared colony ships. We found something unexpected, an empire built on technological intimidation and the subjugation of others. He looked directly at Tark. What you didn't know was that Earth had been aware of the Vorax hegemony for much longer than you realized. Tark's head snapped up, his eyes wide with surprise. Jack continued. Those colony ships you detected, they weren't really missing. They were bait, designed to draw your attention while our stealth teams infiltrated your worlds. Impossible, Tark whispered. We would have detected them. Mike, standing by the door, laughed. Like you detected our ships hiding before the battle? Your technology isn't as perfect as you think. Jack nodded. For 2 years, we've been studying your empire, learning your weaknesses, and making contact with the species you conquered. He gestured to the 7 alien representatives. When you scanned the Thunderbolt, you saw exactly what we wanted you to see. Technology that seemed impossible by your standards. Dr. Gray stepped forward. Some of what you saw was real. Earth is indeed technologically advanced. But we deliberately included sensor readings that would terrify you specifically. What do you mean? Dax asked, speaking for the first time. Dr. Gray smiled. We studied Vorax psychology and culture. You value technological superiority above all else. It's the foundation of your society. So we showed you technology that directly challenged that belief. The scan was designed to provoke exactly the reaction you had, Jack explained. Fear, followed by desperation to understand and acquire our technology. Tark's face darkened with anger. You manipulated us. Yes, Jack said simply. Just as you've manipulated and controlled 7 other species. The difference is, we did it to free them, not enslave them. One of the alien representatives, a tall being with 4 arms, spoke up. My people have been under Vorax control for 80 years. We forgot what freedom felt like until Earth contacted us. We've been sharing Earth technology with the conquered worlds for months, Jack revealed. Not weapons, but defensive systems, communications, medical advances. Things that would help them protect themselves once the hegemony fell. Tark looked stunned. The rebellions on the outer worlds, and they were your doing? They were the doing of people who wanted freedom, Jack corrected. We just gave them the tools to achieve it. Ambassador Tom stepped forward and placed a document on the table. This is the Treaty of Liberation. It formally dissolves the Vorax hegemony and recognizes the independence of all conquered worlds. And if I refuse to sign? Tark challenged. Jack shrugged. Then we leave and you deal with 7 worlds that now have technology equal to your own, plus a lot of anger about generations of oppression. Tark stared at the document, then at the alien representatives whose determined faces told him everything he needed to know. With a resigned gesture he signed. A wise choice, Jack said. The terms are fair. The Vorax keep their homeworld and nearby colonies. No reparations will be demanded. In return, you will dismantle your military fleet and join the new alliance of free worlds as equals, not rulers. Tark looked up sharply. Equals? After everything you've said about us? That's the difference between Earth and the Vorax, Jack said. We believe in second chances. Your people have skills and knowledge that can benefit everyone if used for cooperation instead of conquest. After the signing ceremony, Jack found himself looking out a viewport at Voros Prime below. Commander Dax approached him cautiously. There's something I still don't understand, Dax said. If Earth knew about us for years, why wait? Why the elaborate deception? Jack considered the question. War is costly. We wanted to end the hegemony, with minimal bloodshed. And we needed to be sure all 7 conquered species could defend themselves after we left. Dax nodded slowly. And the Thunderbolt? Was it really as powerful as our scans showed? Jack smiled. In some ways, yes. In others, we exaggerated. The important thing wasn't the technology itself, but how we used it. I'm beginning to understand that, Dax admitted. For centuries, the Vorax believed superior technology guaranteed victory. You proved that strategy and preparation matter more. Not just strategy, Jack corrected. Values. Earth fights to protect freedom, not to conquer. That gives us strength that can't be measured by scans. 1 month later, Jack stood on the bridge of the Thunderbolt as it prepared to leave Vorax space. The new alliance was taking its first steps, with Earth providing guidance but not control. Course. Captain? Lisa asked. Home, Jack replied. Our work here is done. Dr. Gray looked up from his station. Not entirely done. We've received reports of another expansionist empire in the Beta Quadrant. Apparently they've noticed our activities here. Jack smiled. Have they now? Well, let them scan our ships. Let them see what happened to the last empire that threatened freedom in this galaxy. Lisa set the course and the Thunderbolt turned toward Earth, its mission complete but its message clear. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, and those who scanned their ships would indeed know they were destined for ruin if they chose the path of conquest. As the Thunderbolt entered warp, representatives from 8 worlds, including the Vorax, sat in a new council chamber, beginning the long process of building peace after generations of war. Above them, Earth ships patrolled silently, a reminder that freedom now had a powerful guardian. The stars stretched into streaks of light, and the Thunderbolt headed home, leaving behind a changed galaxy and a simple truth. Technology alone doesn't win wars. Humanity does.